call the Subcommittee on Diversity, Inclusion, and Minority Women-Owned Business Enterprise to order. We will take up the following item for approval. Action item 1A, the approval of the minutes of the March 17th, 2025 meeting. I move the approval of action item 1A. Do I have a second? Any discussion of the minutes? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Item passes. With no policy and action items on the agenda, I will address the information items. There's one information item on the agenda. Information item 2A is the Diversity, Inclusion, and MWBE update. I now turn it over to Deputy Chief Operating Officer Jerry Thomas and Chief Procurement and Supplier Diversity Officer Martin Sterler to present on this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Wilkins, and good afternoon, everyone. I'll be very brief. EVC Batista was unable to join us today. For those of you who might not know, since February, he has not only been our COO, he's also assumed the acting position for the vacant Senior Vice Chancellor of University HR and Labor Relations. So we will defer our HR diversity report until the subcommittee's next meeting. Additionally, at next week's Finance and Administration Committee meeting, we are presenting for the committee's consideration the permanent Senior Vice Chancellor of UHR and Labor Relations appointment, selected from a very robust national search that was done over the last several months. And I want to thank Trustee Berger and UFS Chair John Verzani for serving on that selection committee. So pending a successful review and approval by the board, the next meeting will include its usual HR diversity report, along with a new HR leader, fingers crossed. So the focus of our time together will be on CUNY's MWBE efforts. And as you know, that is being led by Martin Sterler, our Chief Procurement and Supplier Diversity Officer. Martin joined CUNY in 2020, and you'll hear in just a moment the great work that he's done since he joined the university. Martin was also recognized by City and State in their 2025 Who's Who in MWBEs, which highlights the most important figures in this space. So I do want to take a moment to celebrate that and thank Martin for the work he has done to ensure that CUNY is supporting and advancing the state's MWBE and SDVOB programs. And I would also be remiss if I didn't say that Board Chair Bill Thompson was among those recognized as well. So, to do good work in this space, we really need some great champions. And I think these two recognitions highlight that CUNY has those great champions. So with that, I'll turn it over to Martin Sterler to walk us through today's MWBE report.
Well, thank you, Jerry. I definitely appreciate the words. It's been an honor to be recognized. I also want to say that this is not something that I did myself. I couldn't have done it without Ali's help and Orlene, who is part of a supplier diversity officer. And what you will see here today is nothing but the way to demonstrate that that recognition, which of course I didn't choose to do that, has a background. And without being said, then let's see the agenda.
Maybe shoot it that way.
So we're going to cover first the metrics and KPIs, the utilization numbers for the past fiscal year. We want to give this subcommittee an update on the Mentor Project program, both the current participants and the expansion plan that we have in place. This is one of our most successful programs in terms of MWBE development. Then we're going to talk about a little bit about campus visits and training to all the staff at campuses and both directors and buyer level at all levels, and an update on outreach events and sponsorships. This current fiscal year, actually the past fiscal year, and this current calendar year has been the busiest year yet in terms of outreach events, and so you will see. Can you switch to the next slide? So the first slide is MWBE utilization. I'm happy to report that this is the highest utilization number we've seen in the last 6 years. We reached a total number of $170 million when we look at the CUNY numbers and the CUCF for the facilities construction numbers. It's not only the highest in terms of percentage, but also in bottom dollar numbers. We were at $170 million compared to $147 million. For a year-over-year jump, that's not very usual. That's a 15%, almost 16% increase versus last year, and almost 30% increase versus the average of the prior years. Again, as I said, as you will see in the next couple slides or few slides, this is not a coincidence. This is not luck. This is hard work. This is hitting or pushing the right buttons. This is addressing the problems that we have. This is training. This is constantly meeting with the people that actually make things happen at the colleges and also a central office, and continue to be 120% committed to the cause. The next one is the same slide, but now this is showing SDBOB utilization. I'm happy to report for the first time ever, CUNY has reached a very ambitious target that the state sets for SDBOB, utilization of 6%. We beat the 6%, did 627. Combined all CUNY were almost at 4%. And if you look at the CUNY number, it was exactly 4 times what we did last year and the years prior to that. Again, this is not a coincidence. This is really reaching out, going to the events, talking to vendors, having them meet with the purchasing directors at all colleges, and developing those relationships that then they materialize in actual procurements and actual contracts. So, about the Mentor Project program, this is a program that we had in place for a few years now, and what it basically is, we pair up big, let's say, top 500 companies with small businesses that they want to grow, and we consider that they have the potential to do business with very complex agencies like ourselves, and complex not because of bureaucracy, but in terms of, there's 25 colleges, many more campuses, and to serve a client like CUNY requires a set of skills that not everyone has. And so the big companies, they take a protege under their wings, and the program follows our own guidelines, which is essentially they mirror the state guidelines for this program. The whole program at this point, it involves about $20 million of revenue that goes directly to MWBEs that otherwise would go direct. I mean, it would go to these big boxes that you see. And the notion is that the companies that are proteges, we expect them to grow anywhere from 30 to 40%. Sometimes we have cases of growing triple digits, like literally they double their revenue. But we also want them to, we want them to be prepared to do business with the SUNYs or MTAs or NIPAs of the world, because again, it's not easy to serve them, or at least to serve them efficiently. But we also want them to grow their portfolio, because what we don't want is for them to grow 30, 40, 50, 60% revenue, and then when they exit the program, then the revenue drops, because that's problematic. And now you're talking about a downsizing. We don't want to see any of that. The mentors provide structured training, sales and marketing, finance and accounting, legal advice, industry trends, business segment strategies, depending on the business segment that they're trying to address. These things are received at no cost to the MWBEs. If they have to get private consulting, it would cost them a lot of money, and some of them probably don't have that kind of money. So by the time they graduate, which is approximately after 4 years, now that they're prepared to serve large-scale clients, which and then we give them the opportunity to another set of proteges, and so we rotate the partners under this program. Right?
Yeah, I agree, Martin. And I would also like to emphasize that these vendors it's a very hands-on mentor protege program. They're not just processing orders behind a computer, but they are very present on each campus. They're meeting with the procurement directors, they're meeting with the end users, identifying the problems on each campus, and coming up with the solution to each problem on every campus. And so it's very hands-on training. At the end of the mentor protege program, they are learning sales and marketing and finance and accounting, but they're also learning how to navigate higher educational institutions and city and state agencies. So they're going to be well equipped by the time they're done with this program after those 4 years.
So the expansion of this program, we just finalized an RFP and appointed B&H, and Minority Tech is going to be the protege, and B&H Audio Video, which is one of the largest audio video providers in the state of New York. We expect we address two things in one initiative. First, we never had a centralized contract for audio video equipment. Every college was on their own. They were on their own. So much like, or unlike CDWG or Granger, that everyone is buying from the same vendor and it's available in our CUNY Buy marketplace, we didn't have one for B&H. So now this contract is available. We're in the last stages of state approval, and Minority Tech is going to be the protege under this program. We expect about $5 million of revenue, and it's 100% MW utilization. The reason I'm saying 100% is some of the contracts or the vendors under this program, we don't have 100% obligation, or they don't have. So sometimes it's less than that, but it's definitely more than 30. It's probably more like 60, 70%. Although the immense majority of the vendors under this program have 100% utilization. This is, can we switch to the next one? The next one is same thing. Conceptually, there's a good number of colleges, almost all of them, that they buy lab supplies on a ongoing basis. And again, we didn't have a centralized contract. Every time they had to do an RFP on their own or buy from the OGS contract. Now we did one single contract for all the all the colleges, and Edge Electronics is the official reseller. Edge Electronics has 35 years of experience, and we also expect about $5 million, probably more, and also 100% MWB utilization. So that's the MPP and the Mentor Project Program update and the expansion. Yeah. And now, yes, I'm sorry.
And historically, I just want to emphasize for this Fisher Scientific contract, historically, not just at CUNY, but around the state, there's a very limited amount of lab supply companies that are certified MWBE or SDVOB. But the more that we're going to these events, we're finding these companies and noticing that they are getting certified over the years. And so we're happy to have identified Edge Electronics and have this contract put in place at CUNY so that we are utilizing these MWBEs for lab supplies, which was overlooked previously.
I'd also like to say that finding these opportunities for centralized contracts has been a big focus of Martin Sterla's over the last couple of years. You know, it allows us to lean into being a system and get more reasonable pricing for the entire university by doing a centralized contract. And of course, it also eliminates the need for every campus to negotiate and set up their own contracts.
Please.
Yeah, so how do companies like B&H get certified as an MWBE? Or do
They're-
we do that, or is that something
No,
outside?
B&H is not an MWBE.
Okay, that's what I was, I mean, I'm in
No, no,
video,
no.
so I was kind of like,
No,
that
they're
doesn't
not.
strike me as a thing.
That's
that
the
is a thing.
point.
Okay,
We appoint that's a very good
okay, I
question.
was like, that's not really.
We appoint
I
a
was like-
company that is not an MWBE and as a mentor, and we put MWBE as a protege, and it has a lot of
Okay,
I don't want
okay.
to get into the gory details, but there's certain requirements for a company to be a protege. They have to have revenue between $500,000 and $2 million a year, not less than $500,000, not more than $2 million, and then there's expectation
Okay.
term of growth. But the mentors are not MWBEs.
Okay, and so,
Okay.
I was just wondering about that. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
That doesn't strike me as, but maybe I'm like, I'm gonna ask the
No,
question
if you look at
because I
the
don't know
revenue, you'll
answer.
realize that no,
Yeah,
there's nothing small about them.
That's my field, and so I'm just like, that
And
doesn't.
we
Yeah.
do not certify them as MWBEs, the state does.
The
The
state
state
does.
does,
Okay,
yeah.
that's good. Okay, I just
That's
thank
a
you
process
for,
that is
thank
transparent
you
for us.
that question.
Just wanted to ask the procurement officer, Martin, is this something, I believe we're one of the few universities around the country that have such a program to
Yeah.
introduce firms to work on that level of major, in a sense, Fortune 500 companies to be able to understand the ability to procure the services or the commodities that such as CUNY requires and what the needs are. So that's very much what, as indicated, what Martin and Ally have put together under our Vice Chancellor Hector Batista to be able to put forth. So thank you again.
Thank you.
No, thank you for the leadership here. None of this gets done without the leadership here. And I also want to emphasize, it's not just transactions, but it's that business development that I'm most proud of. By the time they're done with this program, they're going to be able to work with city and state agencies, not just in New York, but all around the country. Well, we can go to the next slide. So over the summer, I've had the opportunity to speak at the university-wide comprehensive purchasing training. That's when we bring in all of the procurement departments from all over the school, and we go over policy updates and trainings. And during this time, I was able to do a New York State MWBE program overlook, and I was also able to cover the breakdown for each campus's MWBE utilization. And during this, I was able to recognize some of the higher MWBE utilizations for each campus. And I do want to give LaGuardia Community College a huge acknowledgement. They were able to achieve, well, keep in mind, the governor has a 30% MWBE goal, and LaGuardia Community College was able to achieve 70% MWBE. And so I'm extremely proud of them and what they were able to accomplish. And we were able to give them an award, as well as a few other campuses. And this fueled, I'd say, a little bit of friendly competition amongst the colleges. When they saw that these higher achieving campuses were able to be awarded, I'd have some of the lower utilized campuses come up to me after and say, I'm motivated. I want to utilize as many MWBs as possible and STVOBs. And so from there, I started doing a more hands-on training at each campus. I've had the opportunity to visit each of the 25 different campuses. And more recently, I did visit some of the more lower MWB utilized campuses. and I did a more hands-on training. I showed them how to identify MWBEs, SDVOBs, how to identify proper opportunities for diversity, and gave them policy updates. And so I'm extremely excited to see the results of that. I think we're already starting to see some of the results based off the first couple slides that Martin showed us. And as I mentioned, because LaGuardia was able to achieve 70%, there's no reason why there's no campus that should be able to achieve at least that 30% goal that the governor has in place.
These individualized training sessions, as I call them, they really are necessary. There's, whether we like it or not, there's turnover at the colleges. People come and go, and then sometimes people leave CUNY, and then some others come from a place that they know or they worked before in these type of programs, but some of them don't. They come from maybe the private sector, and they're not familiar with it. So we try to minimize that learning curve as much as possible. The state doesn't wait for us, and so we have to submit quarterly reports. And if someone is not up to par, then that's when Ali organize these full day visits, and he delivers all the training, answers all the questions. And so we want more than anything a consistent practice. We don't want to have super achievers and then poor performers. We rather have a really consistent, and if we can have overachievers as well, that's fine. But I really want to first have a very consistent practice across the system. There's no excuse for me or for anyone to not know what a discretionary procurement is and what the threshold is, especially when the governor but recently they increased the threshold for these procurements to $2 million. And keep in mind that about 2.5 years ago, it was $750,000. Then it went to $1.5 million, now $2 million. So there's really no excuse. And so we want to make sure that these opportunities, that it's the the silver lining in the middle of so much bureaucracy, to have this opportunity to do a very streamlined, very quick procurement process only with MWBE vendors or the set-aside procurements for SDVOBs. It's really, shameful if we didn't, but we're doing that, and the numbers just prove what I said.
And also part of the reason for our success in the numbers is the amount of events that we've been to this past year. Arlene and I have been to over 30 events this year, just to name a few: the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus, SOMOS, the MWBE Advocacy Day. And just to touch on that, that's an event where we travel to Albany, where we strengthen our partnerships with elected officials to make sure that MWBE opportunities don't go anywhere. The NIPA Supplier Diversity Expo. And part of the reason why we go to so many events is to expand our supplier pool. We want to connect with newly certified and underrepresented vendors. And ultimately, we want to keep surpassing the governor's 30% goal. And I think going to these events are very important. And as we mentioned earlier, the Fisher Scientific contract came from meeting one of the vendors at these events. I mentioned lab supplies was not really represented for these opportunities, but we were able to bridge that gap going to these events. And so the year's not over. We already have about 15 more events for the year, and we're looking forward to hitting the road and meeting even more MWBs and SDVOBs and expanding that pool. And out of the 97 state agencies, I'm proud to say CUNY has to be one of the most visible agencies. You don't see every agency at these events, but I'm proud to say that we're there, and we're proud to represent for MWBs and SDVOBs and to bridge the gap.
So that concludes the informational item. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you may have or any comments.
Any questions, discussion? I do want to point out that not only are these programs beneficial for the businesses that take part of it, it is also a tremendous impact on workforce in the local communities. And it has made such a difference in terms of the what CUNY has been continuing to do, and no doubt will continue to do with very talented team. But it is very, very important that we keep our eye on this and that we continue to move forward in these programs and making sure that it's very clear that this is a engine for New York and for it to continue. Any other questions, discussion?
I'll just say,
Please, trustee.
entrepreneurship is super important, and people don't really think of that as an option, right? And especially the support for entrepreneurs and new businesses starting out. To have CUNY as a lead in that, and the Protégé program, that was a great thing to touch on, and I'm really happy and proud to be at CUNY and have this work be integral to what we do. It's really it's a point of pride.
Thank you.
Justin.
Okay, thank you. So with that, if there are no more items on the agenda, I move to adjourn this meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? We are adjourned. Thank you so much.